Well, hey, everybody. Getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest here on Memorial Day. So let us get started. I think we're ready. All right, here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 201 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can find me on the social media at Be Our Guest Mike. That would be Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Again, Be Our Guest Mike would love to connect with you today. Maybe you're out on the deck grilling as my wife and I just did. We had a couple of hot dogs for lunch today here in beautiful St. Peters, Missouri. First time we had the grill going this year, so it was kind of nice. Mallory is at her friend's house. Actually, she spent the night last night, and they headed off to the pool today because it is a bright sunny day here in mid Missouri and central United States of America. So the pool's open and they're going swimming. So it's just Pam and I here today and just enjoying the day off. But before we get any further, it is Memorial Day here in the United States of America. So I do want to say that we are reflecting on all those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Do take a second to pause today and thank those who have served. And of course, Memorial Day is the time we remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. But again, also thank you to those who serve and continue to serve our country. You are the best among us. We appreciate you so very much. But today we are here to talk about, Mike in the Midwest. It's our show where we get together once a week, talk about what's going on around the Be Our Guest podcast studio, see what's happening with you guys, because you always give the feedback over at patreon.com/Be Our Guest podcast and see how you're doing. Of course, we have our clubhouse. You guys have a private clubhouse over the Patreon Discord channel if you want to use that. But of course, it's kind of more fun, I'll be honest, to hang out in the big clubhouse where everybody for the whole show hangs out over at beourguestpodcast.com/Discord. I hope you guys are enjoying that because, again, I talked about this a couple of months ago. There were a few of you guys that were in here that were kind of keeping that going for the past couple of years. Trisha, Dennis was in there. There's a few of you guys that really kind of kept that going. I was never in there because I gave Discord a shot right off the bat, and then I didn't really understand it. It was confusing to me, and it was, I didn't, it kind of looked a little cluttered. I don't know. My brain couldn't rally around it. And then at the beginning of 2024, I always set a goal for the show, kind of an internal thing. I don't announce it or anything. And one thing I really wanted to do in 2024 was try to rebuild more community around the show. Because that was one thing I really did is the show started in 2008, 2009, 2010. That's why we started the forums. 1 year with the podcast, we started, I really wanted to push Twitter. 1 year was one of my goals. One of the years was the podcast cruise to build community. We did that. We continue to do that and stand by because we are going to have an announcement for the podcast cruise shortly. We talked about that last night as Jared and Scott and their families were here. It's going to happen soon. I promise you, we are working on it. But every year I set a goal, and this year it was to stick with the Discord, to make the Discord happen. And you know what? I think, and I'm knocking on fake wood here from Amazon, this little desk that I bought on closeout back a few years back during COVID. I think we've almost hit critical mass over in the Discord where it's going to sustain itself at this point. We have enough people posting that it makes it exciting enough to check in a few times a day, and that it's going to happen now, right? It's a good resource. Like I see people jumping in there, like asking, "Well, hey, I'm headed over to Walt Disney World in a couple of weeks. What do you think about these last minute ADRs?" Or I'm headed on the Disney Fantasy next year. What port excursions have you guys done, and what should I look at for my cruise? Or we have somebody asked yesterday about adding an Adventures by Disney channel. Awesome idea, right? Because not a whole lot of people have done that, but if somebody has, that could be a great resource. Somebody could give some feedback on that. International Disney parks, Ian right now over in Europe is it Disneyland Paris, giving feedback about his trip in real time. Mohawk Scotland over there is talking to him in real time in that channel. It is a great resource because not only does it have historical data, you can go back and read the threads to gain information about grocery delivery to resorts, what have you. Because again, there's a search box in the upper left-hand corner. You can search a topic, grocery delivery, or you can Sebastian's Bistro for some reason has been a hot topic over the past couple of weeks, that restaurant over at Caribbean Beach. So if you just type that in, you'll get all the mentions of that particular topic anytime that it's been brought up in the Discord, any of the channels. But also what I enjoy too about Discord, which I've kind of like figured out, I've kind of come around to over the past, I don't know, month or so, is that you get the benefit of the historical search feature, but you also get the real-time chat feature. Because if you look over on the right-hand side, it shows you who's online at the same time you are. And many times we're all in there at the same time. And so you can really basically lifetime chat with people and get feedback, just like an immediate feedback loop. If you're really looking to get some information from, and I'll be honest, everybody that's in there, they're Disney experts. You know, I never try to put on airs that I'm some kind of a Disney expert. I'm just somebody who loves Disney just like you guys do, right? I do it for a living just because that's what I chose to do, but I don't pretend to know more than you guys do either. We all probably know exactly the same. You guys probably know more about Disney than I do in many, many instances. It's just that this is what I've chosen to do for a living. I like to do the podcast, but it's just all about, you know, we pool our resources over in the clubhouse, over on the Discord channel. And I love that. That the community over there is amazing. Everybody's so helpful. And before we really got into the Discord channel and after the message boards that we used to have over in the V Bulletin message boards in like 2010, 2012, is that we had this disconnect. We had this, we were all kind of on Facebook, and then we're all kind of on Twitter. We were all in these different places, but that's kind of scattered to the wind over the past 5 years or so. But we've had the listener question shows on Wednesdays, which are great resources, right? They're really good resources. But if you had a question, you could come by on a Wednesday and ask your question if you were off work at 5:30 on a Monday when we recorded, and get that in, maybe on that week's show, or you could email it. And sometimes we got to it, sometimes we didn't, because a lot of times we get 10, 15 emails a week. So we can't get to all those. But with the Discord, what I'm noticing is, I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I was on the treadmill the other day, like it's 6:00 in the morning. Somebody asked a question, and by 7:00 that morning, there were like 3 or 4 different answers, good answers to that question within an hour on a Wednesday. It's 6 a.m. Central. So if you have questions, or you just want feedback loops about ADRs, what do you think? Like, where'd you modify this? Would you go to Topolino's on a Thursday? Would you go there on a Saturday? What about water parks? What days would you do the water parks? Any questions you have about planning, or just thoughts, you're excited about your upcoming trip. People are always wanting to talk about trips or possible trips, or you want to share pictures. People love pictures. This is me. I love this stuff. I'm just saying that Discord channel, our clubhouse, it's a great way to stay connected with other Disney fans, with the place we love. It's a great compliment, I think, to the show. The show, as much as we try to keep it, we try to put out as many shows as possible. I mean, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We try to make it interactive on Sunday nights. Good way to close out the weekend. You guys can be a part of the show every Sunday night, except for last night. We'll talk about that in a minute. I apologize. And then, of course, Thursday, you get the replay in case you can't tune in on Sundays. You get it on the feed. I try to drop that in someplace. But we put out as many shows as we possibly can. I think we put out the most of any Disney podcast every week. So, but this is kind of a 24/7 thing. Whenever you need a little itch, like if you have a little itch, we try to scratch it with the clubhouse, where you can go talk with other Disney fans. And I love having that connection with you guys. So I hope that you guys are feeling the same and enjoying it as well. So again, beourguestpodcast.com/Discord if you haven't been over there. And if you have, I just want to say I appreciate you guys being there. Okay, lots of topics, just going to kind of jump around today. If you're watching the video, which the videos are, I don't really advertise this, but you guys are patrons, and you guys, don't tell anybody. The videos at youtube.com/beourguestpodcast. But I'm rocking my Sydney Swans hat today that I got at Disney World a couple of years ago from one of our great listeners, Aiden, down in Australia. He met up with me at Disney's Hollywood Studios right before one of the most torrential downpours I've ever seen at Walt Disney World. I'm working with him on a cruise, and possibly a second cruise. We're emailing this morning, and he told me that my Swans, my Sydney Swans, which if you don't know, they're an Australian rules football team, which way back in the day on ESPN, like in the late 70s, early 80s, when ESPN first became a network, they didn't have rights to NHL. They didn't have rights to Major League Baseball or NFL or anything like that. They had rights to like workout videos and bowling, crazy, like really like offbeat stuff. But one of the things they had rights to, because we only had basic cable back then at my house when I was a kid, they had rights to Australian rules football. And so we'd watch this. I didn't even know the rules. And it's kind of like rugby. I don't even know really what it is. But the funniest thing is in Australian rules football for an American, and I'm sure our football looks crazy to Australians too, is that when they score a touchdown, or I don't even know if it's a touchdown, when they would score, I should say, there's these two white poles that you got to kick this. It looks like a football, a little bit different looking, but it's a football looking, it's their ball. You kick it through, and there's this guy, I guess he's an official, like a referee. He stands by the goalposts in like a derby hat, and then he does this move that is so slick to indicate a score. And you got to be watching the video so you can get it. He takes his two arms, he goes, I mean, it's almost like it's like a double Isaac, like after he makes the perfect mojito move, like a move like that when the point scored. And I just always thought that was like the coolest sport ever because of that. But anyway, Aiden sent me this Sydney Swans hat. It's the most awesome looking Nike Dry Fit Sydney Swans hat. And apparently the Swans are 10-1 right now. So they're kicking butt this season. So rock on, Swannies. Keep it up. I'm rooting for you here in St. Peters, Missouri. My wife said, "Why are you rocking the Swannies today?" I'm like, "They're 10-1. Haven't you heard?" Because we went for a morning walk today. Yeah, because by the way, I'm telling you, I'm cursed the month of May for my health. Okay, one blister turned into staph infection. Went to the hospital, had that all worked on. That is getting better. I was able to run for like 4 or 5 days. I was like good to go. You know, the iron thing, right? Have to go to the hospital and get the iron infusions. That starts in June 10th on our anniversaries when I got to get my first one because I didn't have any appointments till then. So I can't do anything until June 10th, and I got to do that a few times. So I'll start that in June 10th. So hopefully that'll help with being freezing, being tired, all that's because it's just like, hopefully I'll get more energy and more. I just need my iron numbers to come back. That'll help with the anemia. So I was running yesterday on the treadmill yesterday morning, and I'm just running normal, right? The thing is, like, I run on a treadmill, right? You just gotta, this is why I love talking to you guys, because you guys know my patterns. You guys kind of know me, right? You've been with me forever. I get up every morning, I run on the treadmill, same shoes, same treadmill, same time in the day. I get up at 4:40 every morning. I mean, it's exactly, there's no variables. That's why I love what I do. Like, I mean, there shouldn't be any, with no different variables. I'm very scientific. I taught science. So there shouldn't be a lot of problems, right? This is why, why did I get a blister? Because I wore a different pair of socks. I just wore a different pair of socks, and it caused all kinds of problems. Anyway, I'm running yesterday, and I'm just, it's 5:10 in the morning, 5:20 in the morning at this point, because I'm like, I was at mile 4. I was only going to run 8 miles, listening to a podcast, just in my basement, in the storage room where my treadmill is, just not paying attention to anything, just listen to a podcast, just, not running super fast, just kind of medium, just got it like set on 6, just kind of chilling, half asleep, as I do in the mornings, because super early. I don't even know what I did. Just all of a sudden my back tightens up. Just locks up. And I'm like, I didn't want to stop, right? Because I'm bullheaded. I hate stopping until I hit my mark. So I never did stop. I just kept going. And ever since, my back now is like seized up. So it's been about 36 hours and I have a seized up back. And I know Scott and Jared, who came over to our house last night to visit, we'll talk about that in a minute, saw it because I'm walking like a 90-year-old man, trying to not look like my back seized up, but it is. Of course, last night I had on the icy hot on my back. I smelled like a Rolaids relief pitcher coming out of the bullpen. Didn't run this morning, didn't even walk this morning, didn't sleep well last night because I couldn't turn over in my bed. So I'm hoping a day off today. I did walk with my wife around the neighborhood this morning for a couple of miles, as she does, because I was thinking sitting still totally is probably not a good idea. But man, I'm telling you, this month, it's again not that bad, right? It's nothing horrible, But it's like, holy smokes, May is smoking me out. It was a blister. It was a staph infection. The anemia is kind of coming back. And now I got, dude, now I took, what happened to my back? Like, I'm scared to like cross the street at this point. I need to stay right here in my podcast studio, lock the door, and just do podcasts all month, right? But it'll be fine. So hopefully you'll see me in the morning. The plan is tomorrow morning to walk my normal distance, hopefully by Wednesday to be able to run again. God willing. I don't know. I'm just telling you, getting older is not for the weak. It is like hitting me like a ton of bricks. I mean, it's wild because in June I want to get back to like every single day back to my routine. That's my because I'm all about the Apple Watch and the circles, and my whole streaks and all that just got destroyed in May. I mean, destroyed. So May has just been a wreck. But I'm trying to have growth and let it go. And Mike Bankhead, in just a second, when I read the comments, I'm taking his words to heart because I know I've gone a little hard on my body because I had that streak going where I had 23 miles a day for about 15 months, and that was too much. And this is maybe my body saying too much, too much. So I've definitely cut that down because today I probably won't even get 5 miles by the time I get done. So anyway, that's where I am with that. So hopefully you're having a great Memorial Day. I hope you get some burgers, dogs, brats, because brats, right? Trisha, she's up in Wisconsin. You got to have brats and cheese curds, I guess, up there Memorial Day because it's the unofficial start to summer. Maybe you guys have a pool in your backyard. Mallory always said we should get a pool. I said, no way, because pools are a ton of work. One of my houses, I had an above ground pool because when we bought the house, this was right after college. It had a pool in the backyard, right? And I thought it was the greatest thing when we bought the house. It had a pool. Dude, that pool was so much. It was, I will be honest, it was fun for about the first summer, but right after teaching. And I jump in right after I got home from teaching, and it was great. And I used to love swimming at night. Once it got dark, I used to love because I had like tiki torches around it and everything. It was like, but I mean, it was like in my 20s, right? It was great then. But the thing was, I was spending so much money putting chemicals in that thing, and I was always cleaning it. I felt like it was like another job to clean the pool, and I was constantly putting, I forget what that Baquasil or something. I kept these buckets of stuff. I just kept pouring in there. And it wasn't a big pool either, and it was like a cheap above ground pool. It wasn't like some fancy pool. But man, I told Mallory, I'm like, no, I was like, I'll pay for you to go swimming wherever you want to go swimming. I'll pay because I do not want to have to pay for a pool. And then once you pay for a pool, which are super expensive to get put in, to put all the, I don't have to have the job to clean it and to put the chemicals in it. So I've become that guy. And if you have one, I don't blame you because it was so much fun. I loved it, but man, I just can't do it right now. I can't believe we have a dog either, but we have a dog. So never say never because Pam swore we'd never have a dog, and Riley owns the house. She's on the couch. She's the only place she can't go is our bed. That's the only place in our house she can't go is our bed, which who knows, in 6 months, maybe. All right. So that's what's happening here. The big thing I haven't gotten to yet, because we're going to talk about that in the main topic, but let's hit the feedback from last week. Last week, we talked about what was happening around here and collections from last week. And Mike Bankhead, who, by the way, we got to talk to a little bit last night, and we'll talk about that in a second, but he's down in Vero Beach today on a vacation. So shout out to Mike Bankhead down in Vero Beach, our captain of the Be Our Guest podcast Lizards, which if you were to run or walk, just go to Facebook and search for Be Our Guest Lizards and join the group. We'd love to have you. But he just simply says, take care of yourself, brother. We only get one body. And I have started to heed that advice over the past, especially over the past couple of weeks, because I've been pretty reckless with my body and just like thought of myself, not intentionally thought of myself more invincible, but just not cared as much. Just like I'll go. And I think I've never worried about rest, and I've never worried about recovery. And I think I'm going to start worrying about those things a little bit more over moving forward, just because, again, knees always hurting, joints always hurting, back now. And then like just the anemia coming back. I think I got to slow down, maybe act your age. We'll see. But thanks, Mike. And I appreciate you. Hope you're having an awesome vacation. Ryan says, hi, longtime BOG listener, but new patron here. So thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate it. It really helps us keep going. Take care of yourself, Mike. I know easier said than done, but try to remember sometimes always going max effort isn't a good thing. See, I'm trying to learn that. I am. I really promise that I am, but I'm just always, if you're going to do something 100% all the time, but I got to understand like that's not always smart, but I am trying to change my mindset, but it is hard. It is hard if you're always that way. Ryan says, as far as collections, I collected stickers too. I had them in an old school photo album with the sticker pages and the clear cover. I still have it, in fact, and still have all my basketball cards. It was fun to show those to my two sons, one of which is really into basketball. That is so cool. Now, see, here's the thing too. My parents divorced when I was just started college, like right out of high school, my freshman year of college. So I don't know where half of my excuse me, where half of my high school stuff went, or where half of my childhood stuff went. So I wish I knew where stuff like that is. It's probably gone because my dad moved to a condo. My mom sold the house and stuff like that. So I'm sure all that stuff is like long gone. But I am the kind of person that would love that kind of stuff. Like I'm not a hoarder, but I'm very nostalgic. Like, for example, here in the windowsill, you can't see it, but I've shown pictures of this on social media before. I have the train that was my dad's birthday present or Christmas present when he was 9 years old that my grandpa made him. Now it's not running, but it's from the 1950s. I mean, it's the original train that my grandpa made a whole like board and had the people and the trees and the mountains, had a whole set. But I have the engine and the boxcar and the caboose and the track. And I mean, I have all the cars, but I just have 3 of them in here in the windowsill just to remind me of my grandpa and my dad and stuff like that. But I'm very like nostalgic like that. I'd love to have my old sticker book. That's cool, Ryan, that you have yours. You've got being able to show it to your kids and your basketball cards. I have my baseball cards, but I have 2 girls and they would really care less to see, oh, look, here's Eric Davis's rookie card, or here's Don Mattingly, or, Ozzie Smith. Like, cause like the one set I have, they're in photo albums, and because like some of them I have in those like boxes that you're supposed to keep them in if you're trying to keep them mint condition, those cardboard boxes. But the very first set that I had, because when I would umpire baseball or just hang out at the local ball fields, like it was called Corey League instead of Little League, we had Corey League. So I'd buy the wax packs, chew the piece of gum, take them home every night, a couple packs. And then what I would do is I get them home, and my grandma bought me a few they were photo albums, I think. But what I did, the way I organized them when I collected them was I put them, I'm such a nerd. I put them by National League East, National League West, American League East, and American League West. And then they were alphabetical by team. So like it was like Cardinals, Cubs, I don't know, Mets. They were divisional, and then they were alphabetical by division, and then each player was alphabetical by. And then so when I got a new one, I had to like totally resort them. But I think that was part of the fun of like playing with baseball cards for me. So yeah, I like looking at those. That was kind of fun because I would pull them out and look at the backs of the cards. I looked at the stats, not so much the stats, but like the did you knows. That's kind of how you learned about players back then. You didn't have 90 channels about baseball. You didn't have the internet. God, I'm old. I'm sorry. Thanks, Ryan, for being a patron. I appreciate you. Thanks for the memory. Trisha says, up in Wisconsin, I never claimed being a trivia expert. So she says, wait, did we do this one already? I think we did. Yep, that was from the other show. And let's see. Oh, we have 2 more up here. It's from Michelle. I collected stickers too and still have one of my albums. We used to take them to school to make trades during recess. I also collected Smurf figurines for a while. The ones I remember the most was a fireman with a hose who actually squirted water. I just looked it up on eBay to make sure I didn't imagine it. Hope you're feeling better. Parts of me are feeling better, Michelle. Parts of me are not. It's just the way of the world. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. So I did have some of those Smurfs because, again, I had a sister. So we, like those were kind of like boy, girl kind of things. I think were they Happy Meal toys? One of the other things I had that were similar to that, I don't know if you guys had these, California raisin figurines. Remember those? Those could have been Happy Meal toys. Remember, like they had those commercials. I heard it through the grapevine, and then dance. I think those were Hardee's actually. Now that I think about it, I don't know if you guys had Hardee's. I think some places they were called Carl's Jr., but they're Hardee's here in Missouri. But yeah, I had like the little California raisin guys. I think one of the guys played like a saxophone. One had a microphone. I can't, were the 80s weird or what? It was random, but I had California raisin guys. Trying to think what else, like, because I talked about the Matchbox cars and the Hot Wheels, and one of them was cheaper. I think it was Matchbox, so I had more of those. But I'm trying to think of, like, the statues. I know I had a couple Smurfs because I know I had like Brainy Smurf because I don't know. My parents must have really wanted me to be smart. I was in the gifted program, so maybe that's why I had Brainy Smurf, little nerdy guy. Because I guess if you had glasses, you had to be like a nerd. I didn't wear glasses when I was a kid. I was blind as a bat, but I ended up getting contacts when I was in high school. I probably should have had glasses because I am blind. I cannot see anything. Yeah, and I had those raisins. I'm trying to think if it was any like figure. I'm trying to think any other figurines because I had those Chicken McNugget buddies. We had weird stuff as kids. Think about that. I'm talking about Smurfs, California raisins, and chicken nuggets as collectibles. Who'd have thought? Like if aliens landed in our country on our Earth, they'd be like, you collect chicken nuggets, raisins, and Smurf. What's a Smurf? And then you had that other like knockoff show that was like called Snorks or something. I don't think they had collectibles, but what a weird show. All right, finally, Dennis says, who's getting ready to go on his cruise in 2 days as this comes out. He'll be headed off to the Med. I hope Dennis has the best time. I truly do because he's been looking forward to this for literally years. And I know how excited he is for this cruise. And I know what a good guy Dennis is with his family. And I pray that he has the best time. I really do. The thing is, our podcast is truly a family. And when I know how much somebody wants and deserves to have a great time, Dennis, I'm rooting for you guys to have a smooth flight over to Europe and just have the most amazing cruise because I know how special these cruise times are with your family. And your family's getting like mine, right? The kids are getting older. These times are so precious. And Michelle, she was just talking. She's going on a cruise with her daughter, who's like my Paige, my Mallory, like kind of right in between. Same thing. They're going in August. Like, man, our kids were all young just like 5 minutes ago. And now it's like we're hanging out with adults. It's weird. It's so weird. So, Michelle, I hope you have the best time ever. Man, but we're all going on cruises soon. So, yes, we're all going to have a good time. All right. Dennis says, I remember stickers being such a huge deal when I was in second and third grade. Collecting and trading was a fun hobby as a kid. I kind of got out of control at my elementary. It kind of got out of control at my elementary school, though. And I remember my teacher banning stickers for a week once. Look at that teacher. I don't know if he's going to talk about this. What about those scratch and sniff stickers? Do you guys have those too? I remember like we get those on your paper if you got like 100. I don't know if you had to get 100, but maybe like an A. And so you'd be like, oh man, maybe I got the orange scratch and sniff and that'd smell good. Or root beer. And you'd smell it. But sometimes you get like a pickle or something. You'd be like, ugh, that's not very good. Or I don't know, whatever. Because sometimes you'd be like, oh, I don't like that smell. I don't know, like a sneaker or something. But yeah, scratch and sniff in my generation were like, that was like gold. Yeah, when you got a scratch and sniff on like a 100% spelling test. Oh, dude, that teacher was being nice. Back to Dennis. Dennis says, other than that, most of my collections were what kids generally collected. I had a short-lived football card collection. It started when football cards were given out as a party favor at a friend's birthday party. I didn't even watch football at the time, but that didn't stop me from collecting a whole lot of cards and organizing them team by team. Dennis and I are brothers. Look at that. He said, I also collected comic books for a couple of years. I would go to the local Deerbergs. Oh, look at that. Call out to where my wife is right now. She's at Deerbergs that's our local grocery store. She's across the street there with a friend. We buy a can of Coke, a candy bar, and as many comics as we could afford with $5 each. Right now, you're probably buy a Coke for $5. Then we would go to a nearby playground and read them. It was fun, but we never took care of the comics, and they all eventually fell apart. And the sad thing is, those comics right now are probably worth $50 if you'd have kept them nice. That's so sad. Dennis, thanks so much. Hope you guys have an awesome cruise. If you have any feedback for next week's show, It's patreon.com/BRGuest podcast. It doesn't have to be about this. It really doesn't. Just let me know what's going on in your world. Just share it so we can all hear about what's happening in Maine, what's happening in California, or Arizona, or Idaho, or Wisconsin, or Arkansas, wherever you are. Let us know. Patreon.com/BRGuest podcast. Help us out for the good of the cause. All right. So real quick, what's happening around here? It's a 3-day weekend. 3-day weekends offer the opportunity sometimes just to get away. We do this a lot with Walt Disney World, right? I mean, you get the chance, maybe you're off on a Monday, so you take off on a Friday, boom, all of a sudden you get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You can have a 4-day weekend at Walt Disney World, and that's a good amount of time to maybe see all 4 theme parks, maybe go down for a race weekend, maybe go to Food and Wine Festival, Flower and Garden. We do this all the time. Maybe sometimes you can go on a cruise. You can do a 3-night or a 4-night Bahamian cruise. Three-day weekends truly do offer the opportunity to take short trips. And a lot of times they're road trips here in the United States for our United States listeners. Well, this past weekend, Scott got to come down and he didn't visit us here in St. Peters, Missouri, where I live, but he visited some other friends here in St. Louis of ours, Jared and Stacy. They live across the river over in Illinois, which is about 40 miles from where we live, in a town called Edwardsville, which is a big suburb of St. Louis, but on the Illinois side. And they did some of the restaurants and stuff like that over there. I think Scott stayed in an Airbnb over there. He showed me kind of the pictures. It was a cool looking little place, but had some funky architecture as far as like the master bathroom had a real short ceiling and the shower had a real short ceiling. I would not have been able to do well in this Airbnb. It didn't look like, but they went over there. They hung out with Jared and Stacy. They did a lot of Route 66 stuff because they came down Interstate 55, which is the old Route 66, and did some of that stuff. But then last night, because I'm recording this on Monday, so Sunday night, Scott made his way over here. So we had dinner with Jared and Stacy and Scott and Elizabeth and Emily. We all met at one of our local hangouts, which is a restaurant we call the Brass Rail. They sponsor our Francis Hall football team and athletics, cheerleaders, and all that stuff to give the pre-game meals. They're also a really good community partner. On Thanksgiving, they're not open, but they open for the homeless, and they provide all the homeless people, anybody that is unsheltered who needs a meal on Thanksgiving Day. They come in, no questions asked. You get a good square Thanksgiving meal, no problem. They do that. They serve thousands of people every Thanksgiving meal. So when there's some place in our community that does something like that, you better believe I'm going to go there and patronize that business because they're trying to do something good. So we went there, and I knew plus this place, I don't drink a whole lot, but I knew this place had like all kinds of like specialty beers and cocktails and stuff. And I know Scott and Jared and Stacy are all into that stuff. Like they like their bourbons and stuff. I know nothing about that stuff. So that's the best place I knew in my like little part of the world that they had that stuff. So we went there, and Scott and they got some kind of special bourbon drink when they were there. So that made me happy that they got to have something cool like that. So we went there and had dinner. Now it was storming like crazy, of course, like all weekend when Scott was here. So that wasn't great. And we were going to hang out on our deck because we got the deck all nice. Like Pam and I had cleaned the house and we had cleaned the deck. We got a new umbrella because our last umbrella got wiped out by a storm because we didn't reel it in enough, and the wind came, and we have a real high deck, and blew it off our deck and destroyed it. So we got a new umbrella. It looks like old Key West, and got the cushions all cleaned. And we were ready, man. The deck was all ready to go. We got lights around the deck. It was awesome. Of course, what does it do? Pour down rain while they're here. So we all hung out inside for a while, but the highlight of them coming over, Jared and Stacy and Elizabeth and Emily and Scott, was right before they had to leave, because we just hung out in the living room and talked and caught up, was I told Scott, I was like, well, before you guys go back, you want to see the podcast studio right downstairs? And he's like, yeah. And Jared's like, yeah. I'm like, well, let's go see the podcast studio. So we came down here last night, and I showed it to him. It's not much, right? It was Paige's old bedroom right here where I do the show. But I've taken all the stuff out and I've made it what I wanted it to be. I've brought in all the stuff, the equipment, and it is fun, right? It's got all the lighting. It's got the mixers. It's got the microphones, and it's got the stuff on the walls and all kinds of stuff. It's fun. This is my little happy place. This is what I've always wanted. It's a place where I can just come in, sit down, and do a show. I love it. So Scott and Jared were like, "Can I sit in the chair? Can I talk into the microphone?" I'm like, "Do you want to go live? Let's go live and talk to some people." So thank you to everybody who jumped in with us on Sunday night or last night as I'm recording this. We had more people tuned in live, and we didn't go at our normal time. And I apologize, we did not have a live call-in show last night because I was getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest right before the time we normally have the live call-in show at 6 Central, but the power went out because there were really bad storms right as we were getting ready to do it. So the power went out, and I was like, "Oh man!" Well, I was getting ready to record a show anyway, and no power, so it wouldn't have worked out well anyway. But we were meeting them for dinner. I didn't want to leave them hanging, so we just didn't do a call-in show last night. We'll do one next Sunday night. But here's the deal. I asked them if we wanted to go on the air. So we just went on the air impromptu last night. I think it was at about 9 o'clock Central. So it was about 10 o'clock Eastern. I mean, it was late. And we had more people tune in to that than we normally have to the call-in show. We had almost 100 people tuning in. This was late. And like simultaneous, we had way more than that. Like if you look at, concurrent listeners, we had over 100 viewers, and we were only on for just a brief few minutes. It was wild. And so Scott got to sit in the chair, Jared got to sit in the chair, they got to take questions and talk to people, and we were taking pictures, and we were having a good old time here in the studio for a good 25 minutes or so. So I want to thank everybody who was a part of that on Sunday night. We had a good time just hanging out here in the studio last night. Jared, Scott, and I, and the ladies were hanging out downstairs here in the basement. And that brings up a point that 3-day weekends, they don't like, I don't think you look forward to them like you do like a vacation. Like I've been looking forward to this, our 7-night cruise on the Fantasy. I've been looking forward to this for like 2.5 years, 2 years. I don't look forward to 3-day weekends like this, but I've been looking forward to Scott coming down here for a few weeks. And we had this real quick, fun night where we got to all hang out, just catch up and have a good time. And I'm thankful for that. But I'll tell you what, this podcast it's a blessing and a curse. And it's 98% blessing and 2% curse. And I'll tell you why. And maybe you've seen this with your relationships that have come out of this podcast and have come out of social media and stuff like this too. 98% good. And I'll tell you 100% why. A lot of math here, a lot of percents, right? Is that I would have never met you guys if it wasn't for the podcast, if it wasn't for the power of podcasting, if it wasn't for me being able to connect with you somehow because of all this technology that has come about in the last 15, 20 years. I still can't believe I can sit I'm in my basement in St. Peters, Missouri, in a suburb of St. Louis, dead in the center of St. Louis, Missouri, basically, I'm 20 miles outside of St. Louis, Missouri, not in New York City, not in Chicago, not in Los Angeles, not in some huge metropolitan area. I'm wearing on the top of my head a hat that was given to me by somebody from Australia who listens to my podcast. Think about that for a second. I'm never going to go to Australia in my life, probably. I mean, I'm honest. I'll probably never go to Australia. But many people listen to our show in Australia. I've gotten gifts, like there's a koala right there on the back on my shelf from listener Mel. She sends me chocolates from Australia every year. These beautiful, tasty little chocolate treats that are the best treats I've ever had in my life because she's kind and just does that. Like I have friends in Australia. I have friends in England. I have friends in Japan. It's such a blessing. And I have friends all over the United States because of this. But here's where the 2% curse comes in. And this is, I don't know if you got to think about this for a second. As Scott was leaving last night, I didn't think about this until he said this. Like, he's like, dude, we're not vacationing together this summer. He's like, I'm going to miss you, man. And I didn't think about this because we always vacation together. But for one summer, instead of cruising together, he's going to Europe because he's always wanted to do Europe. We don't have passports. So by the way, we do have passport applications. We got those last week. So we're filling them out. We are going to try it. We are going to get our passports this summer. So, hey, we're working on it. But they're going to Europe to do their cruise in Europe and go to Disneyland Paris. We're going on our fantasy cruise this summer. So we're doing different things, which is fine. We'll vacation together next summer and we'll see each other at the races and stuff this fall. It's not a big deal. But here's the 2% curse. Like, I've made all these friends, but in the past, when you have friends, like your friends that you are friends with are always in your community. So what we did last night, you can do with your friends so easily because almost all your friend circle is always somebody that's nearby. Like my friends before the podcast were friends from my teaching. Like, and they were all people that lived by me. So if you want to hang out, it was like, hey, you want to meet up at B Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings, and watch the game? Yeah, okay, boom. 5 minutes, you're there. Like last night was so fun going to the local bar and grill, grabbing dinner, coming back to the house. They made old fashions. I had a Coke Zero. We came down to the basement. We played around on the podcast feed and just hung out. That was so natural. I wish we could do that every weekend. So that's the curse. You can't do that when you have relationships with people that are in other states that are 500 miles away or that are 5,000 miles away. I would love to do that with so many of you guys. And we get to hang out and have all these fun times. Like Wade is up in Nebraska. We have a hoot when we're down at Walt Disney World, but I would love to do this stuff every weekend with my friends. And I don't get to do that. But like I said, it's 98% blessing because I would not have all you guys in my life, all these great, great relationships and friendships. But man, it is 2% curse because I would love to do this stuff every weekend and you can't. So I don't know if you feel that way. Give me the feedback, patreon.com/BRGuest podcast. So I guess, technology, I think for the most part, technology is a good thing. It is. I mean, it's amazing. I've rallied about this stuff on Mike in the Midwest forever. It shocks me because I'm a kid from the Atari 2600 and Commodore 64 days. And to be able to do what we do, because I ran a BBS back in the day. If you know what a BBS is, it was like the very primitive connecting of people through messages and stuff like that. And to be able to do what we do right now is amazing. But man, I wish we could hang out more. We could FaceTime, but it's not, we could hang out in a Zoom, but it's not the same. But last night was fun. One last thing. I'm going to ask you guys to give me some feedback over on the Discord. I've asked about this already, but I just want to get it from you because you guys are the ones that I trust the most. On Thursday for the feed, because today's already Monday, since we don't have a call-in show, I'm thinking about putting out, and this is so off the wall, but I'm thinking about releasing the audio from Scott, Jared, and I hanging out last night, just off the cuff, just on the air last night. So do you think that's a good idea? We did talk a little Disney. Scott was asking people, Jared was asking people about their upcoming trips and stuff like that. But is that too crazy to put on the normal podcast feed if I give a little disclaimer off the top of the show? Because it's not a call-in show. It's not 100% Disney. It's kind of just us hanging out together as buds. It's about 25 minutes long. Should I put that on the feed on Thursday? I mean, we've had 2,500 shows, or so. Would the general population of our audience get upset with that? What do you? I don't want to get killed like on Apple reviews and all that stuff. What is your opinion? Would the normal listener say, "Oh, that isn't what I signed up for. I didn't want that in my feed"? That's what I'm worried about. What do you think? Or should I put that out there and just would people think they would get a kick out of hearing Scott and Jared, just the audio version, hanging out on a Saturday night? Or should I just not do that and skip it? Just give me your thoughts over on the Discord and the current BOGP channel. All right, I'm going to get out of here. We've gone way too long. You got to get back to your grilling, but I wanted to hang out with you guys for a little bit here on Memorial Day. So have fun with your friends. Go splish and splash in the pool, and we'll be back next week. So I appreciate you guys. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.